On a recent trip to Washington, D.C., two paintings at the Smithsonian American Art Museum caught my eye. The first reminded me of Chaim Soutine, which will make sense later, and this other nearby work, which I love, made me think of color field painting in a folk art style. Turns out, and I was so surprised, the same artist painted both of these works, about 10 years apart. So how did he get from here, or even here, to here? Clearly, I needed to know more. William Henry Johnson, a classically trained award-winning artist, was born in 1901 to a poor family in the Jim Crow South. His mother was black, his absent father white. At 17, he was part of the Great Migration, relocating to New York to live with an uncle where he worked odd jobs, before applying and being admitted to the prestigious National Academy of Design, where he mastered their rigorous standards and won numerous awards. As a student, he showed such great promise that painter and mentor Charles Hawthorne helped raise $1,000 to send Johnson to study in Paris, joining a surge of black artists seeking greater freedom and opportunity overseas. While there, he befriended black modernist Henry Ossawa Tanner, was exposed to the works of Gauguin, Van Gogh, Cézanne, and Soutine. Aha! Among others, which inspired Johnson to experiment with color and form in ways that transcended his formal academic training. In 1928, at age 27, Johnson traveled to the south of France, where he met future wife Holka Krake, a Danish textile designer, 16 years his senior. An unlikely union given their differences in race, culture, and age, but Johnson was attracted to her progressive, independent spirit. In hopes of solidifying his American reputation, Johnson briefly returned home, entered work in the Harman Foundation competition, and won gold, after which he returned overseas to marry. The couple settled in Denmark, where Johnson developed a deep interest in Scandinavian folk art and culture, whose influences show up in his later work. In 1932, Johnson and Krake traveled extensively throughout Europe, ending their tour with a 3-month stay in Tunisia. Because Johnson was black, the couple gained access to sacred sites and areas not otherwise available to the local European population or non-Muslim visitors. In this way, they learned ancient methods of glazing and firing indigenous Berber pottery, as well as textile dye methods that they took back with them to Denmark and incorporated into their work that was jointly exhibited in 15 well-received shows in Scandinavia and 3 in New York. With Europe on the brink of war, Johnson spoke of a desire to go home to, quote, paint his own people. Once back in New York, Johnson taught at the Harlem Community Art Center, where he learned screen printing and completely transformed his approach to art. According to the Museum of Modern Art website, the method helped Johnson define a new visual language of simplified forms and flat planes of bright color, allowing him to let go of the painterly expressionist idiom he had honed in Europe to embrace something newer and bolder that mixed high and low and could speak plainly of a new kind of urban experience with folk origins. It was a deliberately simplified, as Johnson put it, primitive style. But for Johnson, the term primitive was synonymous with, quote, the community values of all marginalized peoples. According to Denmark art dealer Josephine Rydeng, unlike Matisse, Picasso, and Modigliani, whose primitivism was mostly inspired by African masks and artifacts, Johnson's primitivism was the result of an inward gaze, focused on the meaning or intent of the work and how it applied to him and the African American himself. In 1941, Johnson had a solo show at Alma Reed Galleries, after which tragedy struck and his life quickly unraveled. His Greenwich Village studio burnt down and his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. She died 2 years later. Buried in grief, Johnson returned to family in South Carolina and painted those he knew. In 1946, he went to Denmark to be with his wife's family, but was picked up for vagrancy, sent back to New York, and hospitalized. Diagnosed with syphilis paresis, a form of brain damage, he would remain hospitalized for the next 23 years, until his death in 1970. Although Johnson overcame many odds and enjoyed a degree of artistic success, he was never able to achieve financial stability. Why is it that other Black Harlem Renaissance-era artists, such as Charles Alston, Romari Bearden, and Jacob Lawrence, received greater recognition, while Johnson did not? To summarize Princeton literary scholar Jean Andrew Jarrett, the belief at the time put forth by civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois was that Black art should be about working-class Black people. Artists such as Johnson, who did not conform to this, were placed outside the canonization of African American cultural production. In other words, support the cause, or we won't support you. Due to unpaid storage fees after hospitalization, almost all of Johnson's work was nearly destroyed. Luckily, friends intervened and saved his more than 1,500 works, the majority of which have been donated to the Smithsonian. As a testament to the importance of his artistic contribution, Johnson's work can be found in the permanent collections of some of the nation's most important museums. Johnson led a life of great highs and lows. Poverty and marginalization should have doomed him from the start, but thanks to his perseverance, wide-ranging talent, and vision, Johnson became, to quote the Smithsonian American Art Museum, by almost any standard, a major American artist. Thanks for watching. Please share, subscribe, and get your art fix on. Until next time.